With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
It started with a concert, Coldplay.
We'd like to say hello to some of you in the crowd.
A man and a woman appear on the Jumbotron. They're not kissing, but they're clearly more than friends. And it's even more clear that they've just been caught.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on, you're okay?
You've probably seen it. The woman turns away, the man ducks down, and then Coldplay's frontman, Chris Martin, makes a joke.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Then the internet does its thing. The couple is identified. The guy is a guy. I'm not going to say his name because I believe in privacy. And the woman, also, her name is known, if you feel like Googling it.
Days after a clip from the Coldplay concert in Boston, it caught him on the Jumbotron.
He's the CEO. She's the head of HR. Same company. They're both married, just not to each other. From there, TikTok goes to town. Google trends spike. LinkedIn pages are scrubbed, spouses are tagged, bookies take bets on when these people are getting divorces, and the internet's anonymity problem, specifically its AI-powered facial recognition problem, got its 15 minutes of fame yet again. I'm Beau Friedlander, and this is What the Hack, the show that asks, in a world where your data is everywhere, how do you stay safe online?
We're going to use our cameras and put some of you on the big screen. This is the way we're going to get to say hello to some of you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about something truly fascinating and very concerning. It was the subject of the book Your Face Belongs to Us, a secretive startup's quest to end privacy as we know it, written by New York Times reporter Kashmir Hill. Friend of the pod, we had Kashmir on to talk about it. Kashmir's book focused on a startup called Clearview AI. Now, picture this. At the time, that's 2 years ago, this company had built a facial recognition library consisting of over 30 billion photographs from the internet. Scraping means they just took them. Yeah, billions. The killer app part, selling access to that massive database to hundreds of law enforcement agencies. The tech is pretty wild. It's helped identify people from super challenging sources like ATM videos, CCTV, surveillance tapes. It's all real. In one story, agents got an ID from a surveillance photo of a man whose reflection was barely visible in a pair of sunglasses and matched him to a photo from a fitness expo online. That same facial recognition technology trained on billions of public images is now functionally available to anyone with a browser. Maybe not with as many images, hundreds of millions, not billions, but tools like PimEyes let users upload a photo and search the web for matches, even across really obscure websites. No warrant, no just cause, just curiosity. Here's Kashmir Hill.
I mean, the big breakthrough is, until now in society, when you were walking around, in a big city, I'm not talking about a small town where a lot of people, know who everyone else is, but in a big city, you can walk around anonymously. You can go into the store and buy condoms and kind of assume no one's going to know who you are and what that means for you, as long as you use cash. Otherwise, lots of people tracking it. You can have a sensitive conversation over dinner and pretty much assume the strangers won't be able to kind of connect the dots about what you're talking about. You can go to a protest and, assume the police aren't going to take a photo of you and be able to track everyone who was there. You can go to a Planned Parenthood, and if you walk out and there's protesters outside, they're not going to take a picture of your face and know who you are. And so what Clearview AI was doing was taking away that ability to be anonymous, because they were making faces searchable in the same way that Google made our name searchable, and kind of organizing all of this online information that has been gathered about us over the last 2 decades, some of which we put out there ourselves, and just making it available with a click of your face.
AI-enabled facial recognition is now just a part of daily life. And that's how TikTok users identified the Coldplay couple. The philosopher Jeremy Bentham famously designed a prison he called the Panopticon. The building was arranged so that a single guard in a central tower could see every inmate, while the inmates could never tell if they were being watched. The idea was that the possibility of being watched was enough to make prisoners police their own behavior. Now, imagine that, but on a global scale, and we all take turns being the guard. We're not just in a panopticon. We've all become both the guards and the prisoners. We, the public, have become the agents of our own ambient surveillance. Now, this has nothing to do with cheating CEOs or really problematic HR situations. It's just a touch point, right? But let's zoom out.
No need for your ID, because your smiling face is all you might need to get through airport security faster this summer.
Our consumer investigator Chris Camara shows us how facial recognition is growing at airports coast to coast, including a brand new rollout today at SFO.
Starting this summer, some savvy travelers will jet through special new lines at the airport, and they won't even have to pull out their IDs.
Essentially, your face becomes their ID.
United Airlines is rolling out new touchless ID at SFO and several other airports. Here's how it works. If you have TSA PreCheck and check in online, you can upload your passport photo in advance. By doing that, you then get to bypass normal bag drop and security lines. Instead, a TSA camera quickly confirms who you are.
That camera is comparing your passport photo, and with facial recognition, that's how you're getting through security.
That's not a black and white case, right? The past few decades have provided many reasons to impinge on the right to privacy when it comes to air travel safety. Okay, so it's one thing to use Face ID to speed up a security line. It's another when that same technology is the plaything of idle curiosity. But even as far as law enforcement goes, it doesn't always work. Not right, anyway. In 2020, a protester in New York was arrested weeks after attending a Black Lives Matter rally. The New York Police Department used Clearview AI on some security camera footage. There was no warrant. Worse, there was no workflow or contingency plan in place if the facial recognition program was wrong. And that actually matters a lot because the protester was African American. In the 1950s, Kodak film famously had a problem capturing images of people with darker skin tones. This was due in large part to something called Shirley cards, which were light-skinned models the company used to calibrate their film. AI facial recognition systems have their own version of Shirley cards. They trained on data sets that are overwhelmingly comprised of lighter-skinned individuals, mainly white men. Now, privacy is nonpartisan. If a training bias means that people who aren't from a certain demographic aren't as accurately ID'd, which is the case here. The arrest of this guy after the Black Lives Matter rally should have been a duh moment. But as with all things in our move fast and break things economy, the memo that history had written about the issue was ignored. The same year, Detroit police misidentified Robert Williams, another black man, using facial recognition. He was arrested at his home in front of his family for a crime he didn't commit. Here's Kashmir Hill again.
So Robert Williams is a suburban dad in Michigan, lives outside of Detroit, and has 2 young daughters, a lovely wife. And one day he's at work and he gets a call from a police officer saying, "Come turn yourself in. There's a warrant for your arrest." And it's 2 days before his birthday. So he thought it was a friend pranking him. Robert Williams was arrested for the crime of looking like someone else. The way that these systems work is they'll rank a bunch of candidates in kind of the order of what they're most confident is a good match. And so Robert Williams was 9th on that list. And the human analyst thought he was the best match. And the police did not do much more investigating beyond that. They showed his photo in a 6-pack photo lineup to the security analyst who had watched the surveillance footage. And she said, "Yeah, I think it's that guy." And then they pulled pawn shop records. And Robert Williams, he wears actually expensive watches, Breitlings, and he had sold one once at a pawn shop. So to them, they're like, okay, facial recognition says this. Eyewitness agrees with the computer that he looks a lot like this suspect, and he pawned a watch once, and this person stole a watch. And so he wound up arrested and held in jail overnight, charged, had to hire a lawyer to fight this case. It's crazy. It can go really wrong if police aren't pairing this with a real robust investigation, because these systems do not always get it right.
Now, this is not just junk history coupled to a couple of outlier tales. These aren't edge cases. According to the ACLU, facial recognition systems misidentify people of color at disproportionately higher rates. And yet the tech is quietly being deployed in airports, malls, concert venues, even churches. Again, there ought to be a law. But, there isn't. So we're going to get into that in a second. Private companies don't have any obligation to tell you if your image is being used. You don't have the right to opt out in most states, although we're going to talk about that too. And as Kashmir Hill said to us when we interviewed her, your face doesn't belong to you. It's scraped, indexed, stored, and made searchable. And once that happens, it's not entirely yours.
For so long, the researchers in this field thought that facial recognition was just a uniquely human intelligence, and that a computer would never be able to do this, to recognize that you're the same person when you're smiling and when you're frowning, or when you're wearing a hat or sunglasses. I was talking to the people who made the breakthroughs that put us on the path to Clearview AI. And I said, did you ever think to the future when this works really well? Are you worried about it being used by authoritarian governments? Or were you thinking about race and bias when you were only using photos of white men to test and train your technology? And they said, no, it was hard to imagine how it might be when it got good. And so it was this chain of people who were saying, someone else is going to think about the downsides of this. But first, we just want to make it happen. We want to accomplish this. How far can we take this? What are computers capable of?
John Oliver, host of Last Week Tonight, had a pretty good take on it. Here he is.
If you want a sense of just how terrifying this technology could be if it becomes part of everyday life, just watch as a Russian TV presenter demonstrates an app called Find Face.
If you find yourself in a cafe with an attractive girl and you don't have the guts to approach her, no problem. All you need is a smartphone and the application Find Face. Find new friends, take a picture, and wait for the result. Now you're already looking at her profile page.
Burn it all down. Burn everything down. I realise that this is a sentence that no one involved in creating that app ever once thought, but just imagine that from a woman's perspective. You're going about your day when suddenly you get a random message from a guy you don't know that says, "Hello, I saw you in cafe earlier and used Find Face app to learn your name and contact information. I'll pick you up from your place at 8. Don't worry, I already know where you live."
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtual Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your virtual pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Even if Clearview AI and off-the-rack versions like PIM Eyes, Amazon Recognition, and Face First, even if they didn't exist, the Coldplay clip could have still gone viral because we've become part of the algorithm, part of the machine. We tag, we search, we cross-reference, we know where to find wedding registries, Instagram handles, and Zillow listings, and we're not just observers anymore. We're spies. Because of that, we're part of the problem. Now, what does the problem look like? I mean, take your pick. Dozens of media outlets requesting to repost the original TikTok. Like, that was news. There are real problems in the world. Corporate brands hijacking the moment for memes. Now, in my case, a podcast episode. Actual betting markets, right? Gross. Chris Martin has been doing the same bit, spotlighting random fans, for years. It's not his fault. The woman who posted the clip, Grace Springer, she almost didn't do it, as she told a UK news program called This Morning.
You joined us now from New Jersey, where it's 5 a.m. Thanks for getting up, Grace.
Of course, guys. How are you?
Nice to see you. So, Grace, just talk us through the moment you were filming because you wanted to get caught on camera, right?
Exactly. I was hoping to see myself on the big screen, and I love to capture moments, so that's why my phone was out in the first place.
Oh, so you were filming the camera as if to hopefully it was going to come on you.
Yes, I was being hopeful.
And then obviously you caught that moment, you saw it, you saw this lovely couple. And if you think about it, if you just relaxed and just chilled out, that probably, would you have even uploaded it? I don't think you would have. But it was that reaction. And at what point did you think, you know what, I'm going to post that on social media?
So in the moment when I filmed it, I didn't think much of it. But of course, everyone was kind of chattering. There was over 50,000 people at the concert. So it was a hot topic. But it wasn't until after the concert where I was debriefing the moment with my friends. And I said, let's review the footage. Let's see if it really looks that bad. And I think it does.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Searching CEO of company, because I'm not going to name it because I'm not participating, on TikTok, which was an official suggested term on Google, it pulls up an endless doom scroll to end all scrolls of hot takes. Major news outlets have shared the same clip, of course, and largely untouched on their own platforms. Again, there's really horrible things happening in the world. And here I am talking about the couple from Coldplay. And here you are, listening. That might be the whole problem. Here's Kashmir Hill again.
There are similar services now that, while Clearview AI is limited to police use, there is a public face search engine called PIM Eyes. And any of you could go there right now, and you're supposed to upload your own photo. You have to check a box saying, this is me, and I'm over 18. but they don't have any technical measures in place. I have a subscription so that I can see the whole photo. If you just go to it right now and do it, it'll show you a bunch of little, like your faces, but you can't see the whole photo or where it came from. And I have a subscription and I can do 25 searches a day, which I don't know why I would need to search my own face 25 times a day. And yeah, it's $30 per month. The database is not as robust as Clearview AI's. It's, hundreds of millions of photos instead of billions, and they didn't scrape the social media sites. And I actually was thinking about it a lot this month because of a woman in Virginia named Susanna Gibson, who's running for office, in a local race. She's a Democrat. She's a nurse. And the Washington Post reported that a Republican operative told them that she had streamed sex acts on the internet with her husband for tips. And these videos were not linked to her name, but were linked to her face. And I wondered how that operative found them. Was he, watching pornography and he stumbled on it, or did he run her face through something like Pim Eyes? And that's how she turned them up. I don't know.
These surveillance tools are frequently used by law enforcement and federal agencies, as we've discussed, against everyday people, undocumented immigrants, tourists, librarians, doctors, carpenters, people who own banjos. I don't know, like anybody. People who never consented to being tracked in the first place. And while Clearview AI insists its technology is strictly for law enforcement use, the reality is messier. Reports show it's already been made available to retailers for loss prevention, including Kohl's, Walmart, and Macy's. And yeah, I guess law enforcement, a lot of these places have holding cells in the basement or somewhere in the establishment. The company says it wouldn't sell to adversarial nations like China, Russia, or North Korea. But when asked about other countries, Clearview says it's, quote, focusing on the US and Canada, unquote, and taking it one day at a time. But when you're handling something as sensitive and powerful as this sort of biometric surveillance, we'll figure it out later it's not a good enough answer. A tool this invasive demands clear limits, strict oversight, and meaningful accountability, not vague promises, corporate discretion, and a shrug. Because once the infrastructure is built, it's very hard to roll back.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Clearview does allow people to opt out of their database if you happen to live in California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Utah, or Virginia. But if you do opt out, that may not stay that way. You may not stay opted out because in the same way that our personal data pops up over and over and over again online, you can remove it. It gets sold again. Boop. It's right where you thought it wasn't. Whack-a-mole. I don't care how fast you are. You're not going to get it all. And so Clearview AI is scraping for people's images all the time. And if they come across your photo again, there you are. Boop. Again, you're there. You can't really sue. Unless something really horrible happens, I suppose you can. But who are you going to sue? Clearview's defense is just going to say if it's public, it's fair game. So maybe someone should have sent the memo that Clearview was going to be created 10, 15 years ago when we started posting our images online before we knew this was going to be an issue. And maybe that's the real problem here. It's not just that the system has flaws, it's that this is how it was designed to work. Scrape first, deal with the consequences later. So what now? Well, this is where regulation comes in. We're talking biometric privacy laws, transparency, hard rules about who can use this stuff and what they're allowed to do with it. Because hoping companies will police themselves, that's worked out 0 times so far. Here's Kashmir Hill.
This is something that I worry about, is that the compounding of surveillance technologies, one on top of another. And it is what we are seeing happen already in places like China, where they're tracking the phone, they're tracking the face, they're making inferences between the phone and the face, and then putting that on top of a social credit score where you are judged on all kinds of measures of behavior, including paying your bills on time. And then they decide what access to services you have. Like, you can't buy a train ticket if you have a low credit score, and you can't really subvert the system because they're tracking your face and tracking your phone. Yeah, I mean, I do find the idea of this just kind of continuing unfettered with no rules, no control over how our information is used. I think that we will have a very kind of chilling world. I mean, very hard to be free in that world. Privacy laws work. And if you don't like the idea of being in one of these databases, if you live in Europe, you can get out of them. Here in the United States, if you live in California or Connecticut or Virginia or Colorado, you have an access and deletion law, and you can go to Clearview AI and you can say, delete. I want to see my report. I want to see what you have on me, and I want you to delete my face. And, in Illinois, it looks like Clearview probably violated the law there. Privacy law, sometimes people are very resigned about technology and they say, there's nothing we can do. It's taking our privacy. And it is not true. There's many ways in which we have constrained technologies. We passed wiretapping laws, and that's why the millions of surveillance cameras that surround us in the United States only record our images and don't record our conversations. There is something that you can do on the individual level. If you're so lucky to live in one of those states, you can delete yourself. But at more systemic level, we need to pass laws. That is how you decide what happens with technology.
The people caught in the Coldplay video weren't famous. They weren't criminals. They were just there exercising their perhaps not entirely constitutional right not to be caught having an affair. Welcome to the Wild West period of ambient surveillance, not just by governments, not just by companies, but by each other, all of us. And so the next time you're at a concert, on a train, or walking into a pharmacy, ask yourself, is my face mine, or is it already someone else's content? And while we're at it, what about your face as a key to make stuff work? Again, it's no longer yours. Let's say company X swears, not X, but a company swears they will do the right thing with your face. What happens when it's acquired or goes out of business? Will the new company honor the original privacy policy? Maybe. Promises are broken all the time. Terms of service are rewritten. Your click, someone else's payday. Now, what about adding a threat actor in the mix? It could be a rogue employee or a criminal, a stolen hard drive, a breached server, all these things. One breach and your biometric data, the literal map of your face, the thing that gets you into your app to listen to Coldplay or withdraw money from your bank, is up for grabs. You can't change your face the way you can a password. There's not much you can do about any of this, but you can stay aware. And the other thing that you can do is ignore the next Coldplay people moment. We make the world by looking at it these days. If you change the way you look at things, maybe the things you look at will change. Your Face Belongs to Us, A Tale of AI, A Secretive Startup, and the End of Privacy by Kashmir Hill is available wherever you get books, even in paperback and audio. Paperback came out last year. It's an amazing read. It will scare you, but in a way that I hope will make you think more about these issues and maybe get you to write your local legislator asking them to do something about it. And now it's time for our tinfoil swan, our paranoid takeaway to keep you safe on and offline. Ambient surveillance. Fun stuff, right? Your image is being used for stuff you did not say yes to. South Park's recent roasting of President Donald Trump pushed the envelope on that score. The episode got a lot of publicity for some lewd depictions, but the end of the episode matters for a totally different reason. It uses AI technology to depict President Trump having a Christ-like moment in the desert. It's extreme parody. It's a slog. He's hot. He's removing his clothes till the end of the shtick when he's completely naked. It looks just like Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump, obviously. Why we should all be paying attention, and you may not like the way they depict Donald Trump, it's simple. The same thing could be done to someone you care about. We can all be targeted by cyber criminals who know who we know, and they know that by going online and seeing where we live and who else lives at that address. From there, you can find images of people, connect it to other people, make a video. The threat is real. You're not going to be able to tell the difference. You won't. You might think you will, but it's not true. So if you're confronted with something that seems outlandish, I want you to pause, and I want you to get online and start Googling whether or not it's real. Because in the same way that the internet was able to identify the Coldplay couple, the internet is also able to identify a fraud, in this case, misinformation, using AI. Just look for the numbers. More people will always understand that something is fraudulent than not. When you go online, there'll be a consensus, and that is what you need to be looking for. We will find a consensus about our privacy at some point. I have no idea when. Right now, I think everyone is just enjoying being their own government agency with the ability to surveil anything they like. Now, I hope that ends because what I do, so long as it's illegal, is nobody's business. And I hope you feel the same way. So stay safe out there. And that is our tinfoil swan. What the Hack is brought to you by DeleteMe. DeleteMe makes it quick and easy and safe to remove your personal data online and was recently named the #1 pick by New York Times Wirecutter for personal information removal. You can learn more if you go to joindeleteme.com/WTH. That's joindeleteme.com/WTH. This episode of What the Hack was produced by Andrew Steven and me, and it was written by Andrew Steven predominantly with me, and I love it, and thank you, Andrew. Stay safe out there. See you next week.
Behind every great meal is a person with a story to tell. Hear them on Culinary Characters Unlocked, the podcast that reveals the lives behind the food. Hosted by me, David Page, Emmy Award-winning journalist and creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, as I talk with everyone from culinary legends to mom-and-pop standouts about the creativity, grit, and passion that shape the food we love. Follow Culinary Characters Unlocked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Behind every empire are the people history tried to forget. Lost Roman Heroes tells the stories of the remarkable characters who shaped Rome from its mythical beginnings to its final fall.
Each episode blends armchair storytelling, sharp historical insight, and a bit of humor to bring these lost figures to life. From generals to scientists, from rebels to empresses, from priests to politicians, these lost Roman heroes have one thing in common.
They stood up for civilization when the bad guys threatened, and in doing so, they changed the course of human history. If you're into history that's vivid, surprising, and deeply human, this show's for you.